What's going on, everybody? It's Matty, Kiwoom, and I'm here to talk about wide receivers that you need to draft this season. I got 4 wide receivers. I'm going to break down some rookies, some vets, but we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about each of these wide receivers and why they are must drafts this year.
Can he stay on his feet? He does! Jordan Addison just like that!
The first wide receiver I'm going to talk about here is rookie Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings. First thing we need to know when it comes to his rookies is, do they have the draft capital? Did this NFL team believe in them enough to use important draft capital to make the selection? Jordan Addison has that. He was drafted with the 23rd overall pick in the first round by the Minnesota Vikings because they were looking to fill the hole that Adam Thielen left. And we'll talk about that here in a second, but I think the fact that they saw a prospect in Jordan Addison, went out and got him in the first round, speaks tremendously to how they want to use him and how he can perform in this offense. He had a 95th percentile breakout age, which is something we love here at Player Profiler. Early breakouts are a great indicator of success at the NFL level. Now, let's talk about what we see on film. What kind of skills does Jordan Addison have? Well, he can win in short area and downfield. Despite his size, he's under 180 pounds. He plays with enough strength and intensity to pluck the ball out of the air. He's a pretty good contested catch guy, even though he doesn't have that big stature that we're used to when it comes to guys who can pluck the ball out of the air. But Jordan Addison can do that, and I think that will come in handy with Kirk Cousins. He also showed the ability in college to understand coverages, and he uses that to find holes in zone coverage. Let's talk about his situation. Now, I already talked about how it was important for the Minnesota Vikings to be interested in Addison and then use that first round pick to bring him in. So that is a pro in the list when it comes to taking Jordan Addison. But let's talk about the team and the offense as a whole. The Vikings offense is straight up, it's great for fantasy football. They had 39.5 team pass plays per game. That was number 3. We love to see that. And then a 2.21 pace of play. That was the 6th fastest in the NFL. So they play fast and they throw the ball a lot. We love that for pass catchers when it comes to fantasy football. Justin Jefferson is his teammate. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why would that matter? I mean, Justin Jefferson's the alpha of the NFL. Why would you want him on your team when you're talking about a fantasy asset? Well, it's going to take the opposing defenses away from Addison. There's no way they're going to be able to bracket or double Addison when they have to spend so many of their defensive resources covering and trying to stop Justin Jefferson. And on top of that, listen, this is a fantastic mentor. If Jordan Addison can just learn a couple of tricks from Justin Jefferson throughout his rookie campaign, imagine what that will do for his development. So, I mean, yeah, on one hand, you want a guy to be the alpha, the wide receiver 1 in an offense, but if you're going to be the wide receiver 2, be the wide receiver 2 on a team that passes a lot, runs a lot of plays, and also has a wide receiver 1 on that field that can divert a lot of the attention so that Addison can get open and find those holes in the zone. And we're going to talk about why him being so good at finding the holes in the zone are important for this fit, and it's his quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Last year, Kirk Cousins had the best completion percentage versus zone in the entire NFL. So if Addison is the type of player that can get open in zone and Kirk Cousins is the type that can make the pass against the zone, that is going to be fantastic for Jordan Addison in his rookie campaign and going forward. Not only is Cousins good against the zone, he was 4th in pass attempts. So he does, like I said, the Vikings do chuck the ball. He was 2nd in red zone attempts. So even when they get close, they're not beholden to the run. They will still throw the ball, which again is good for touchdown opportunities for Jordan Addison. And he was 3rd in air yards. So he'll chuck it deep. Like I said, Jordan Addison has the skill set to get open and catch the ball downfield. So the fact that Kirk Cousins throws the ball a lot, throws it with accuracy against zone coverage, and isn't afraid to chuck it, those are great indicators for Jordan Addison's success in year 1. On top of everything I just said about Kirk Cousins, he was also top 10 in 2022 in money throws, deep ball completion percentage, and accuracy ratings. Check, 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 check. We love this landing spot. That's why you got to draft Jordan Addison. The next wide receiver that I'm going to talk about today is Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Despite a bad 2022, there are a number of positive indicators in his performance profile. First of all, he was 6th in targets, 147 on the year. Love to see him pushing that 150 target marker in 2022. He was also 13th in target share. He had a 27% target share last season. He was 10th in red zone targets, so the Pittsburgh Steelers were trying to get him the ball when it mattered most, when they were trying to put together these scoring drives. They were looking for DJ, which is great. He was 11th in total route wins. He was able to win against opposing coverage. That's great to see. The fact that he can get open, the fact that they are targeting him both, in the red zone and out, spells that he should have had a better year than he did in 2022. But on top of all those, he was also 4th in juke rate, so he can make things happen once he catches the ball. There's a skill set there that just wasn't necessarily tapped into in 2022. Could chalk it up to bad luck, chalk it up to whatever you want. And in 2023, when we look at those factors, you have to imagine that there is so much positive touchdown regression coming in 2023. He had an 85% catchable target rate, but he was 2nd in unrealized air yards, and he was expected to score 3.11 fantasy points than he did. So what that tells me, and what that should tell you, is he was seeing pretty good targets. And we saw he was seeing a lot of targets. He was winning in his routes, but he wasn't able to convert on the deep balls and in touchdowns. In 2022, Deontay Johnson was wide receiver 39 on a points per game basis, but that 3.11 expected fantasy points over his actual fantasy scoring. So let's just say that he scored what he was expected to last year. That would have been 13.7 fantasy points, would have made him good to be wide receiver 19, a 20 spot jump. So if that positive regression hits, you are going to cash in on Deontay Johnson, and that's why he is a must draft in 2023. The next receiver that I am going to talk about is an oldie but a goodie, Tyler Lockett. Two things are certain in this life: that Tyler Lockett will crush, and that Tyler Lockett will be undervalued throughout the entire draft season. And this year, it's not different at all. So let me talk about Tyler Lockett since 2018, the last 5 seasons. He's averaged 79.2 receptions a season, 1,056.8 receiving yards per season, 9 touchdowns per season, and 15 fantasy points per season. That's about wide receiver 18, give or take, on a points per game basis. And last year in 2022, it was business as usual for Mr. Lockett. 84 catches, 1,033 receiving yards, 9 tutties. He was wide receiver 13 overall. He was 7th in expected points added, 5th in route win rate, and 5th in win rate versus man. So yeah, he might be 30 years old, but the man can still ball out, and he's been doing it now for some time. These metrics just basically tell you exactly what I'm saying, that Tyler Lockett still got it. He's got gas left in that tank, and he's still a good producer on the NFL field. One metric that I also want to bring up when it comes to Tyler Lockett is he has scored 25 or more fantasy points. So he has gone ballistic. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it ballistic. He's gone ballistic to score 25 or more fantasy points in 21% of his games over the last 2 seasons. Okay, that is better than everyone in the entire NFL other than Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Those are the 5 maybe best wide receivers in the league. Tyler Lockett is right there with him with a 21% number there. And that's courtesy of Alex Dunlap. He actually talked about it on the game plan. Check that episode out if you haven't already. Tyler Lockett, the man just goes unrecognized, but he's still a stud, and you need to draft him in 2023 to help win your fantasy football league. The last guy that I am going to talk about today is a rookie. It is the man that I am planting my flag on, Tank Dell from the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans decided to trade up to the 306 to take Tank Dell. Why did they do that? I'm waiting. It's because CJ Stroud told them to. CJ Stroud, the number 2 pick in the entire draft.
Silence number 2. No.
Said to them, the new franchise quarterback of the Houston Texans, he asked the general manager, the executives, he asked them, he said, guys, I need you to go get me a receiver. And that receiver is none other than Nathaniel Tank Dell. You need to go get him. And why did they need to go get him and trade up to draft Tank Dell? Well, in his last 2 collegiate seasons at Houston, He averaged 99.5 receptions, so just a hair under 100 receptions each of his last 2 seasons. He also averaged 1,363.5 receiving yards. He led the entire nation. He was the #1 producing wide receiver in college football last year when he went over 1,300 receiving yards. And he's also averaged 14.5 receiving touchdowns. He was a mega producer. He is 5'10", he is slight of frame, but he is a beast on the football field. And in 2023, he was the best route runner in the entire class. You've seen the video of him shaking people out of their boots in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. And this year's Senior Bowl was highlighted with a number of NFL quality cornerbacks, and he went out and diced them up. He left after, I think it was day 2. He was like, I've done it. I put enough on vinyl. Get me on out of here because I'm going to get drafted early. He was drafted 306 because CJ Stroud told him to take him. Not only that, let's talk about the Houston Texans receiving room. It's not great. It's not great, fellas. It's not a great wide receiver room. Not a whole lot of depth there. We're talking about Nico Collins, Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, John Mechie, Noah Brown, and fellow rookie Xavier Hutchinson, who was taken in the 6th round, at the end of the 6th round at that. So, I mean, when we're looking at who he would have to pass in the passing game hierarchy to become relevant, it's not hard to picture him being the #1 target getter right away. Nico Collins is a deep ball threat. He's not necessarily that go-to guy for a rookie quarterback like Tank Dell can be. He's not the supreme route runner that Tank Dell is. No one on this depth chart is the route runner that Tank Dell is that will make passes seemingly easier for CJ Stroud. He's proven that he can be a very good player here in OTAs. He looks like a draft day steal already, some are saying. He's excelling at practices, staying late, on the jugs machine, doing the things you love to see rookies do. And Bobby Trees himself expects Tank Dell to make an early impact. That's in quotes. That's saying something for Tank Dell. And he's also just keeps building chemistry with CJ Stroud. All of this drumbeat is getting louder and louder that CJ Stroud to Tank Dell is becoming an absolute weapon, something that the Houston Texans are going to rely on because it's going to work so well for them. And on top of all that, Houston projects to have a pretty soft schedule. Tank Dell could be the catalyst of that. And since you're getting him so late, you can get him after pick 250. That's why Tank Dell is a must draft in 2023. So we have rookies Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, Tyler Lockett, and Deontay Johnson. Make sure you're drafting these wide receivers.